So, let's begin our very first storyboard on Focus on Health Law. This will be presented here by Attorney Kenneth Haber from Boyd's, Maryland. The moderator here is Attorney Ramesh Khurana of the Khurana Law Firm. This week, Attorney Khurana has a bunch of important questions for Attorney Haber on HHS OIG. Let's take a look.
This is Ramesh Khurana. I am an attorney at law and I have my office in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Today I have a great privilege to present to you a very renowned attorney who is Kenneth Haber. Kenneth, welcome to our studio.
Thank you, Ramesh.
He is the former Assistant U.S. Attorney and also the former Senior Attorney in the Office of Inspector General. And today I am going to ask questions about HHS OIG. So this subject should be very close to your heart, I believe, Ken, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. I knew it. So let me ask you the first question of this segment. Now, how does the HHS have an Office of Inspector General where you used to work many years back?
Yeah, it does have an office in the Department of Health and Human Services. It has an Office of Inspector General because there's crooks out there who are trying to steal our money. And they're also, because of the fact that programs sometimes have to be better defined and refined because they're put together on the fly and not properly put together at the first time, and they need to be put together so that the crooks can't take the money so easily.
When was this office set up, by the way?
1976, Congress enacted the enabling legislation for the Office of Inspector General.
And when did you work with the HHS OIG office?
I was hired in 1979.
Oh, wow.
So
just during the initial years?
Yes, I sort of spanked its butt a little bit to get it to breathe, and in 1983 I left and went into private practice.
Okay, okay. So Ken is in private practice at this point. He has an office in Boyd's and he has clients in several states in the United States. And this is the topic about which he has got several clients, and especially physicians from all the communities, including Indian communities. I know some of the cases because of my personal knowledge, because he is a very close friend of mine. So we share information sometimes, but to the extent
nothing confidential.
To the extent we can. Yeah. Okay. Now let me ask you one more question. What does the OIG office would oversee?
Oversees the whole department.
Whole department of Office of Inspector General?
No, the whole department of the United States Department of Health and Human Services.
HHS.
Yes.
Okay. So what are the various functions?
You're talking about the largest civilian budget in the whole country. Yes.
Oh,
HHS goes all the way from the institutes of health over in Maryland, National Institute of Health, and the various sub ones, you know what I'm thinking of over there. It goes all the way there, goes to across the country, wherever there's Medicare being paid out. HHS has the FDA, it has the CDC, it has a numerous number of programs that it's responsible. And the Inspector General's office is there to give oversight, to report to Congress where there can be improvements. And when I might have been a little facetious in terms of crooks trying to take the money, it's true there are people that either on a basis of intentional or willfully taking money to those who are just not giving any thought to what they're doing, breaking the rules. And what they're doing is they're taking the programs out of people who need them. They're taking money from doctors who, are doing it the right way, and which most doctors are trying to do it the right way. And there has to be oversight in this process. There can be corrupt employees who are taking money from pharmaceutical industries in order to approve pharmaceutics. There can be people who are taking money from medical device industries to approve things. And it doesn't have to be so blunt as to be taking a dollar here or a dollar there. They have revolving doors. And unfortunately, what the revolving doors permit is that people who are inside, who are making decisions, want to be nice to people who are on the outside because they're hoping to be able to land fat jobs when they retire. And
Interesting.
all this has to be overseen, and it's overseen by the Office of Inspector General. If they come up at your doorstep some morning with a subpoena, there's probably something that you did that's wrong that they're looking into, unless you're just a witness to what they're subpoenaing the issues about. Now, whether you did something intentionally wrong or you didn't do something intentionally wrong and it was just not understanding the rules, that has to be sorted out by the system. But the fact of the matter is they're there to try to make sure that the system functions properly according to the law that Congress initiates.
Okay. Now let me ask you, how does the OIG functions? Can you please explain?
Well, there's 5, 6, I think it's 6 units within the Office of Inspector General, and they function on a multidisciplinary fashion now. And I was down in Florida doing a task force investigation. Our own little unit, our own little task force, was not only trying to investigate the crimes that we were assigned to investigate, but the task force was also seeking to identify system failures, failures within the programs themselves that permitted people to take advantage of the programs, and not only seek out indictments but also seek out program improvements. We had attorneys involved, we had investigators involved, we had auditors involved. And it was a multifunctional type of task force, and they have the same sort of situation now where they will have the audit services, they have the evaluation inspections, they have the Office of Management, they have, of course, the people who give you the chills if they're coming knocking on your door, and that's the special agents from the Office of Investigation. I was in the Office of Investigation. And they got the Office of Audit. I think I mentioned that already.
Yes, so you did talk about that.
They're all there trying to work together to, make the system properly function. They're not all always working on the same task, obviously, but sometimes they integrate into the same task and work on a multi-level basis, and sometimes they do it individually depending upon what the task is.
Beautifully explained, Ken. Now, my next question to you is, what does the immediate Office of Inspector General do?
They're the ones who tell everyone what to do.
Okay.
You have your Deputy Inspector Generals, and you have the administrative people who are implementing the office there, and then you'd have your Office of Investigation, your Office of Audit, et cetera, and the immediate office is the one that tells everyone.
I see.
They coordinate the functions of everything. They're a little facetious to say they tell everyone what to do, but they coordinate everything and get everyone on the same path, because it is an integrated system. There's feedback back and forth. So, it's not a matter of just issuing a fiat and expect everyone to march to it, because there is feedback, and that helps define what the orders are.
Right. So, Ken, you also told us that there is an Office of Audit Services as well, which is part of OIG. So, what are the functions of OAS?
The Office of the Audit Services is doing audits on the different programs, which is a little different than the evaluation inspections. They get their pencil sharpened. They have the little, caps on their heads, and they're crunching the numbers, and they're coming up with some very informed statistical information about the various programs. The Office of Evaluation Inspections, which is one of the other offices I mentioned, they have a similar purpose in terms of improving the programs, but they look at it not with the nuts and bolts of statistician, but with more of a policy interpretations and trying to see how the paper flows and things like that.
Okay, great. Now let's talk about another office, which is the Office of Management and Policy, which is called as OMP. So what are the functions of OMP?
They try to coordinate these other things, not at the Inspector General's level, but in the trenches.
I see.
And come up with recommendations that the Inspector General's office can take to Congress, or relate over to CMS or other components of the agency, or to the Secretary, and try to improve the programs that way. And the Office of Management and Policy is very much in the trenches with that. Then they come up with how to improve the Inspector General's operations themselves.
Okay. Now let's talk about the Office of Investigations, which is called OI. What are the functions of OI?
They will put the bracelets on people. When I was in the Office of Investigation, it did criminal investigations also, but at that time, while there was authority to carry guns by the agents, there was no guns assigned except maybe one gun per field office, because of the fact that there was only 100 agents, and they didn't want to...
How many agents are there?
They have around 700 agents
wow.
now, and 1,600 staff, over 1,600 staff and over 700 agents. So now they do train people in firearms. And I'm not saying the people there at my time didn't know how to use them, because what the Inspector General's did, the Inspector General office did, when it was first starting up, it went and stole personnel from other agencies because they wanted to get trained people up and running as quickly as possible. And so they hired people out from other federal agencies. There was people from Internal Revenues, Criminal Investigations, people from other traditional agencies that were already established. There were the Kusro, who was the second Inspector General, came in from the Federal Bureau of Investigations. So we had an assortment of people from various agencies that were working to get the Inspector General's office up and running as quickly as possible. And you got to understand that you're getting an office up and running as quickly as possible that has a mandate to oversee the largest civilian budget in the whole country.
That's true, and it was just set up.
And the office was just set up.
Yeah.
So it was quite a task, and there was some very fine people, and there are still very fine people, but there were very fine people who are getting it up and running, and they have some very fine people there that are now operating it. And I'm very, pleased, and I don't like to use the term proud, but I'm proud that it's operating as well as it is now.
Well, you got to be proud because you worked there for several years,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It was a privilege to be working there.
That's true. I agree with you. Now we are left with just 90 seconds, and I want to ask you before you close. There is an Office of Counsel to the Inspector General,
Yes.
which is called OCIG.
Yes.
Can you please explain what are the functions of OCIG?
Yes, I don't want to say they used to be the Office of General Counsel, but they replaced the Office of General Counsel. The Office of General Counsel has offices throughout the whole department where they give counsel to whatever component that they're working with, but they're all controlled by the headquarters. The Inspector General's office is different. They do not report to the General Counsel's office. They have their own independent attorneys that don't report to anybody but the Inspector General. And They will handle the legal needs of the Inspector General's office, and they are as independent. Well, they're part of the Inspector General's office. That is an independent agency.
Great. Thank you very much for answering my questions beautifully and appropriately. I appreciate your coming to our studio.
I thank you.
And hopefully we will invite you very soon again.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you, audience, for being with us.